Hello there. Welcome to this open house for the Focusing Resources Interrelationship Certification Program. I'm Weiser Cornell, and right now we have 7 panelists in addition to me who are all teachers and/or co-mentors in the certification program. Get to be with them live and in person here today. And thanks for coming. So let's start by just having the folks who are here introduce themselves. We have 90 minutes, and in that time, we're going to talk about what is involved in the certification program. We're going to hear about the co-mentorship aspect of the certification program. We're going to answer your questions. And if you want, we can get to know a bit about the people who are here, curious about the program. But let's start by having an introduction to each of the folks who are here. Who wants to be first?
I can be first.
Rose Esposito, go right ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rose, and I graduated from the certification program back in, I believe it was 2016. And I have been practicing, focusing, and teaching ever since. It's good to be here.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rose. And Marcella.
Hi, my name is Marcella Calabi. I'm in New York City, and my private consulting practice is called Clarity Works. Focusing has added a whole other kind, style, depth, and richness of clarity to my life, and that's such a fit with the way I like to think about the world and what helps me, and I love to share it for that reason.
Thank you, Marcella. Emily.
My name's Emily Agnew, and hello from Rochester, New York, where it is very hot. I live here with my partner and our foster cat, and we're lucky that my grown son is in town too. And I finished the program in 2013 and have been teaching and mentoring and working with clients ever since. And my business is called Sustainably Sensitive, working primarily with focusing and another modality called inner bonding with clients to help them. I feel like for me, focusing just helps me come back to myself again and again. It's my go-to for my inner work. So I love sharing it, as others have been saying.
Emily, thank you so much. Paula, will you be next?
Happily. I am Paula Gamble, and I live in Southwest Washington State. I am a spiritual director. I love to companion people, and I have been companioning people for over 3 decades in a spiritual way, listening deeply and helping people overhear themselves. I love that focusing helps people. It helps me, and it helps others that I engage with not only get to know self more, like get more in touch with authentic soul, authentic essence, but I think it's a pathway and a doorway to the beyond as well, to the more in life. And I love to explore the connection with people and myself in that way.
Thank you, Paula. Mary, maybe you'd be next.
Sure. My name is Mary Keeney. I live on the central coast of California. My husband and I moved here about 4 years ago. It's a paradise for walking. And I look out on the ocean and I see all the critters, the whales and the dolphins and all of those. And then just around me and behind me is wild country. So we have bears and mountain lions and the weather is here. I can walk every day, any day of the year, all day. Fantastic place.
Watch out, we're all moving in.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, my typical day is I teach yoga every morning, pretty much 5 days a week. And then I walk my dog. I live in a mobile home park. and with lots of different kinds of people and lots of dogs and all ages. And so it's great walking around, meeting and talking to people and practicing my focusing. and and then the rest of the time I do what I love more than anything else in the whole world, which is doing private yoga, focusing one-on-one. And that is my greatest joy. My greatest joy. Yeah. And I'm so grateful.
Thank you, Mary. Glad you're here.
Mhm.
Kim, will you be next?
Kim Isaac, you're catching me in my it's on the road. So I'm currently in Wisconsin, but I live in Minnesota. And I, like Paula, I'm also a spiritual director. I've been one for about 25 years. And I have found focusing has been such a rich place for people to begin to connect with their whole self, particularly with people who have not had a relationship with their body or been very suspect of their body. I tend to work with clients that might be caught in spiritual abuse or religious addiction, dealing with spiritual bypassing. So it's just been such a graced season. I finished with Anne in my cohort. I was in a jewel cohort. So I think that was 2023 when I finished. And I look forward to this time here today. These are lovely people that we're here with.
Thank you, Kim. Jill, will you be next?
Okay, so I will go ahead next. My name's Jill. I live sometime in London and sometimes in Spain, and I'm in Spain at the moment in the Pyrenees, which is very beautiful. But it is 1 o'clock in the morning, and if I'm here at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's because I love Anne, I love focusing, and I think it's one of the most important things you can learn about, which you already know because you're here, but also to teach it, share it, and orient it, have it as an orientation in your life so that you can live it, and let it affect everything you do in relationship with yourself, community, life. It's all about living forward for me. So thank you. Great to
Beautiful.
be
Thank you, Jill. Thank you so much. Pat.
Yeah, I'm Pat O'Median. I have been, gosh, I was trying to think of when I learned focusing. I started in 2000, and I think my first class with Anne was probably around then. So been a certified and then a coordinator since, I don't know, 15, 20 years. So it's been a while, but Anne is spectacular. And Barbara McGavin is amazing. So I love being here for them. IR focusing is really life-changing for a lot of people around the world. I lived overseas for almost 20 years, and it fits so well into any culture. Communities that are community focused and not individualistic just seems to just fit in like a glove, and it's wonderful to share that, and delighted to be here.
Thank you so much, Pat. So inner relationship focusing is development of the focusing created by Eugene Gendlin. Barbara McGavin and I are the creators of inner relationship focusing. Barbara can't be with us today, but she gave me a video to play for you. I'll do that a little later though, because I don't trust that I could find it quickly enough. Anyway, Barbara sends her appreciation for all of you who are interested in this program. It's a 2-year certification to become a focusing trainer or focusing professional. And that's a certification offered by the International Focusing Institute. And they authorize people like me to give that certification. And that's what this is. It's for people who've already learned focusing and focusing partnership. And it goes on from there What we're most interested in working with is people who feel passionate about living, focusing, and spreading it to others. Whether that's something you want to do as a living for a living, or whether you want to add it to other things you do, but do it professionally, or whether you don't want to do it professionally, want to have it be something you offer. So what you want to make, how you want to make use of the certification program is up to you. So the 2-year program starts every October. The one we're talking about today starts in October of 2025. So each October we start a new group, and then you're part of that group for that whole 2 years. And people here were saying, I'm part of the Jewel group, or I'm part of I forget what else we said, the Iris group. Those are the names we give to our cohorts. Each cohort gets a name. And one of the things that happens in the 2 years is there's about up to 20 people in the same cohort as you. It's not a huge group. It's a group that you can, with people where you can get to know each other. And we're especially oriented toward helping people form relationships with each other of support and mutual facilitation. So the certification program meets weekly for 33 weeks a year. The one that starts this October meets from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time in California. That's the same time that this webinar is happening live. So it's not a good time for Europeans, and it's the alternate of the 2 times we offer it. We do it here Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon. This will be Thursday afternoon. East Coast, 7 to 9. 33 meetings a year on Zoom like this. The entire program can be done remotely. And in those 33 meetings, they start out each one with a teacher who has something to teach that week. And the emphasis in the first year is on working with clients one-to-one. The emphasis in the second year is on bringing focusing to groups. But all through the 2 years, both of those uses of focusing are included, because you also work with practice clients. You begin from the very beginning of the training program to be an assistant in our focusing classes. So we weave together practice in working with people one-to-one and practice in bringing focusing to groups. Those might be focusing classes. They might be other kinds of classes that use focusing exercises and so on. So we're going to talk a little about that, the 33 meetings a year, the topics that we'll be talking about in those classes. And as we do, I'm going to invite the people here who are scheduled to teach those classes to say a little about them. So it starts with working one-to-one, and it starts with what's really fundamental to working with people using interrelationship focusing, and that's being in contact with the flow of the felt sense process in yourself and helping the other person be in contact with that in them. And how to do that? Using your own presence and your own intention and your ability to follow the process that's happening in the other person, and using empathic reflection to do that. So our first classes include the fundamentals of interrelationship focusing. They include cultivating self in presence, which, as you know, is that ability to turn toward anything inside you. Because that's what we mean when we say inner relationship. We mean the relationship between me as self in presence and something that I'm feeling. And we're going to be talking about how to listen for present experiencing and how to, just a minute, I'm looking at my notes here. Right. Now, this year for the first time, Paula Gamble is going to teach listening for present experiencing, but since you haven't taught it before, Paula, I'm not going to put you on the spot to say what happens, but if you want to,
I
talk about what's important about that.
I would
Yeah.
just say a few things in this,
Yeah.
in the sense that it seems a lot of people who are drawn to certification are already people in listening professions. Coaches, therapists, spiritual directors, body workers. There's some sort of culture, listening, anthropology. There's a quote by a Quaker who says, "To listen another's soul into discovery may be almost the greatest service that any human being ever performs for another." So what I've discovered in over 3 decades of being a professional listener is that focusing has helped me to even better listen other people into discovery, and it's specifically around the felt sense. And if you don't know what that is, you can come into certification and deepen in that. And so I get to teach this class and on listening for present experiencing. And I think it's just a way for us to deepen our already good listening skills in a fresh way of focusing.
Listening into, what was it? Listening into awareness?
Listening someone into discovery. I'll put it
into discovery. Ooh, that would be so nice. Yes, I love that so much. Yeah, so that's one of the classes that will be taught in that first 10 weeks from October up until the holiday break. Another one will be something called too close process and too distant process. Sophisticated ways of helping a client who's either feeling so much that that's difficult or feeling so little that that's difficult. And that class is taught by Helene Brenner. We're going to have a class on the power of guiding. How do we blend in facilitation of process to this base of listening to process? That one's going to be taught by Ginevra Howard. Now, the 9th class is called Frameworks of Process and Meaning. And that's going to be taught by Emily Agnew. Say a bit about that amazing topic.
Yeah, this is a new class. This year will be my second time teaching it. When you are serving another person as a focusing guide, it's different than being a companion, which many of you are familiar with. Who are here with us today. You take more responsibility for the focuser's process to help them stay in the process. And one of the ways you can do that is by listening in a deeper way for the meaning under their words, and also on a process level. So exploring that is a really rich addition to the skills that many of you already have as a focusing companion.
So continuing with the first 10 meetings, we also have a class taught by me called Parts and How to Be with Them, because inner relationship focusing is also a form of parts work. So at that point, we've come back from our winter holiday, and well, winter in the Northern Hemisphere. I don't want to be hemisphere centric, but the December, January holiday. And what you've been doing for the first 10, 11, 12 weeks is each week you trade focusing with one of the other people that's in the cohort with you. Now, in one of the first meetings of the new year, you'll meet with Emily Agnew, to get ready to see practice clients. So practice clients is a key aspect of this program. As you work with people we find for you or that you find for yourself, at first experienced people and then people who are new to focusing, you'll be working with your co-mentors to learn from those practice client sessions. Emily, say a bit more about what you do in that class where you prepare people to see practice clients for the first time.
Yes, well, we talk, this isn't the only class where we talk about the difference between between a therapist, a companion, a focusing companion, and a focusing guide. But we go over that again, and also just all the nuts and bolts about how to contact a client, how to help them understand that what you're going to be doing is different than the regular focusing companioning process, because your first whole set of practice clients will be people who have focused before. And then also just how to set up the time, how to keep boundaries if someone misses a session, how do you handle that? Yeah, those are some of the things that we cover.
Some people have worked with clients already in their profession, but others have not. And all of that about boundaries and sessions may be a new thing. And we're then going on to give classes in things like sessions with someone who knows focusing and how to make use of the triad meetings. Okay, so what are the triad meetings? Well, so you've practiced with everybody else in the course. Now, who were the people you really connected with? And at this point, right around the time it would be possible to start working with practice clients if you feel ready. We also form the cohort into triads. So from this point on, in alternate weeks, one week you meet in the classroom with a teacher, and in the alternate week at the same time, you meet with this group of 3 that we've helped you form. We've formed you into a group of 3 with the people who you felt you resonated well with. What happens in that group of 3, the triad? Well, in that same 2 hours, one person's the focuser, one person's the companion, one person's the observer for about 20, 25 minutes each, and rotate those 3 roles, focuser, companion, observer, and then have a safe and supportive format for learning from the sessions that you're doing and observing with each other. So it's a place where you can get to know, feel supported by a smaller group, and practice the things you're learning in that supportive group. Some triads like each other so much, they're still meeting years later. So that's what we're encouraging you and preparing you to do. Now, for the rest of that first year, on alternate weeks, there'll be classes on some of the more detailed aspects of working with clients one-to-one. For example, taught by Marcella, there's going to be a class on the type of part we call protectors. Do you want to say a bit more about that, Marcella?
Sure. Some, maybe many of you might have heard that term already. We are all, I'm going to say, bedeviled by the voices in our head that tell us what we should do and why we shouldn't have done that and what's necessary for the future and oh my God, what's at stake, and they push us around. And sometimes they have really good ideas, by the way. They don't always say things that don't make sense, or they say things that are rooted in some kind of truth or some kind of experience. And so it can be confusing figuring out how to deal with them. But the fact of the case is that those are not coming from our largest self, our self in presence, our biggest, truest, wisest, wholest self. And so learning how to recognize them and to be in a relationship with them that isn't driven by more bickering in the back seat about who should be listened to and who's right and all of that, can be absolutely revolutionary in helping or even allowing us to move to a larger plane of perspective. People have been talking about this wisdom and this seeing the forest for the trees and this, the Zen stance or mindfulness. There have been dozens, if not hundreds or more, ways of talking about this kind of greater perspective over all of human history. And I remember thinking for many years of my life, well, that sounds like a good thing, not to be taken over by my feelings without also shushing them. But how? And what's so brilliant about the work that and Weiser Cornell and Barbara McGavin have done is that just unbelievably and magnificently, it actually answers the question how. And so I find myself just joyous to be able to talk about to that puzzle piece in the context of the whole how.
Beautiful. And soon after Marcella teaches that class, there's a series of 4 classes taught by me and Emily on how to offer focusing to somebody who's never had a focusing session before. So how to give the first focusing session anybody's ever had, which, as you might imagine, is quite a bit more complex than being a professional focusing guide to someone who knows focusing already. So Emily, say a bit, and then I will too.
Yeah, I love this series of classes. I think this is really kind of the heart, wouldn't you say, Anne, this is the heart of the one-on-one work, and it's been preparing for with what's the philosophy, what's the whole felt sense of what we're doing. But this is the getting into the nuts and bolts, but also the art of how to accompany someone as a guide. And the conversation before the session is the first class. I teach the first and the fourth one. So the conversations before and after the session. And it turns out that in the conversation before the session, where you're helping the client begin to define what issue they might like to work on, you can actually help them begin to focus in an informal, unspoken way right then and there. So they have a lovely momentum going into the session. I just was starting a new client last week and did exactly what we do. And just thinking, it just works so well. And the conversation after the session can really help someone kind of keep and more deeply inhabit what's happening, as well as helping them understand a little bit better what happened on a process level. Like, oh yeah, that moment right there, that was you making deep contact with a part, and then people, they can hold on to it better.
So nice. So we have 4 classes on this topic. So helping the client start the session, the next steps after the start, how to help with things that happen then, the deepening part of the session, and then finally the ending. And I'm just going to move on from there and talk about how during that whole first year, you've been seeing practice clients, you've been sending reports about your practice clients to your 2 mentors. During the first year, we also have classes on honoring your sense of rightness about working with somebody, your own felt sense about, is this the right person to work with? There's one about working with trauma, working with the unhealed younger parts of self that come up in people. And there's one on Gendlin's philosophy and what do focusing teachers need to know of Gendlin's philosophy? And then also life forward direction, which is an aspect of Gendlin's philosophy. So during that first year, what's one thing that's been happening is that you've been working with your co-mentors on what you've learned from working with practice clients. But we'll get back to co-mentors in a little while. Just mention a little bit about the second year. During the second year, everybody teaches a focusing course, one that you've gathered the people for and that you've organized and planned. By that time, we give you a lot of help and support in how to do that. So there's quite a few classes that are about how to organize a focusing training, how to create games, exercises, and attunements for focusing groups, how to answer questions that people ask during a focusing training. And we are aware that not everybody who takes this program wants to be a focusing teacher, but it's part of what I believe is right, that you would know how, that you've taught at least one focusing course. And even if you don't intend to ever teach another one, you will learn a lot about working with individuals, from being able to formulate to a group, even a group as small as 2 people, what the essence and the key aspects of focusing are. Also, during the second year, we have some wonderful special topics, including one that is taught by Pat Omedian and Nina Joy Lawrence on community wellness. Want to say a bit about that, Pat?
Sure. My favorite topic. And I was just thinking, I wish I had gone through a course like this. I mean, it was great going the other way, but you never knew who the next group of people were in the class you were going to take. So this is really special. Yeah, community wellness focusing is it's interrelationship focusing with, do I want to say a twist, maybe, of sort of new ways of thinking about working in community, and how do we notice when people are already focusing, that, Gene and how he got to focusing, you start looking for somebody paused. Did you notice how they just paused when they said that? Maybe they could go in right there. Or maybe you're in a school. How do you bring it to classrooms? How do you insert it into daily life? What are the little bits of focusing that could happen anywhere, or that help keep you grounded in a process of being present more easily in your family, your social community, or your work, or whatever? So yeah, it's really about how to be in community and in a focusing way, and how to bring focusing into community.
So exciting and so interesting how to do that. We believe in letting each person find their own way to teach, to embody, to live focusing in the world. We don't have some kind of structure we're going to put on you. Instead, our whole purpose is to facilitate you in becoming what you want to become. During that second year, we also have 2 classes by Emily, finding your people and spreading the word. That's because nobody's hiring focusing teachers. You're going to either blend it into something you're already doing, or you're going to be an entrepreneur. So Emily, say a bit about finding your people and spreading the word.
Yeah, I think these are important classes to get you thinking. Even if you already have your own practice, it can just be really rich and helpful to become clearer about who you serve and how you serve them. And that does not, it's not limited to people who are going to be making money. One way or another, you need to know who you want to serve, and also how to get the word out to them. So those are basically the 2 things that we spend some time with. And for some people, the whole the idea of marketing is just really hard. But when you approach it in a focusing way, it actually becomes very organic and flowing and natural and fun. So
I like to call it empathy-based marketing.
Empathy-based marketing.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Emily's just brilliant at this. So by the end of the second year, you've done your own focusing training. You've created what we call a focusing project, which simply means that there's some area of focusing that you want to get to know better, that you've spent time researching, studying, maybe creating exercises and giving them to people, or sending out a survey, and that's your focusing project. At the end of the second year, you'll be presenting to the other people in your group and to some of the teachers who were able to come that time. What about the teaching that you did, and what about your project? So what really weaves this certification program together is the co-mentor system. And what's involved in that is that in addition to these classroom meetings, and in addition to your triad for consultation with the other people in your group, you also have two mentors. So that we're calling co-mentors because you have two mentors. And about one of those two mentors, you have no choice. It will be me. The choice is who you choose for your second mentor. And everybody here is possible co-mentor for you. And there's other people who aren't here today who also are co-mentors. So what do the co-mentors do? Well, you'll meet with your three co-mentors. You and the other two mentors, we three will meet 3 times. Once before the training starts, once halfway through, and once at the very end when you're actually done with everything else. But those 3 meetings are just a form that our presence with you takes. The actual co-mentorship process is that the 2 mentors are with you throughout your training, with you in spirit, with you paying attention to you, sensing how you're doing, available to you to ask if you need help. And when you see practice clients, you'll be reporting on those sessions to the 2 mentors and getting feedback back from them. 3 times, you'll be recording a session with a practice client and choosing one of your 2 mentors to watch that recording with you and comment on it. You'll have 3 sessions with each of your co-mentors that's included in your training, 3 focusing sessions. And more than 3 are possible at a reduced rate. So the mentors are watching over your training, and people find it a very fulfilling thing to do. We're going to hear from the folks here about their philosophy of co-mentorship, or maybe that's a fancy way to say it, just their invitation to the mentees they want to work with. In about 20 minutes, we're going to be visited by a couple of people who recently completed the certification program, who will talk to you about what it was like for them. So if we're still hearing from co-mentors when that happens, we'll put a pause there. And I'm eager to hear the questions and comments and sharing of the people who are here today, and we'll have time to get to that as well. So next step in our process is to hear from the people present about co-mentorship. And I'm going to invite Jill to go first because it's terribly late for you, Jill. You might even want to duck out after this and go get to bed.
Well, my philosophy, I guess, is, let me pause for a moment. I didn't expect to be asked so soon. It's that again, it comes back to this word orientation for me. And with working with someone else, my interest is in how we can orient ourselves in the practice of focusing and be with others from that place and offer others. I think Paul has already mentioned listening, but to be really open with you as a participant in the certification course, but also to help you to be in that place when you are with others, whether you're teaching or whether you're whether you're on a one-to-one with a client. Myself, I love working with groups. I love bringing people together to actually experience presence. And that is so important. And to allow always something new or a new step to come out of relationship with others. For me, that is so important. So we're always living forward. And when things aren't moving forward, we're able to be with whatever it is that's there, what's here now. Anne has this lovely sentence saying, "This much I know." And to me, the whole philosophy of focusing is to be able to be with this much I know right now. And then from that point, something new will always arise, whether you're working with clients or whether you're working with groups. So that's my that's all I'd like. Is that, can I say that?
Yeah, that's where you're coming from.
That's where I'm coming from.
Super. It makes so much sense. Thank you, Jill. And let me invite Rose to be next.
So the one thing I truly love about this work is that it's helped me tremendously in my own life, in the inner relationship with myself, to be able to see, well, I think first of all, to cultivate a more tender and curious relationship with myself, but also to the whole aspect of self and presence is just the foundation for doing this kind of work. And to be able to step into one's authentic presence and be with one's feelings, and enables us to be with other people in the same way. And I've cultivated a greater level of tolerance in many, many ways. It's helped me enormously with my companion, with my children, with understanding community. And as a mentor, what I really do appreciate the most is the freshness that comes from being with someone new to this process, and to just be an invisible guide and support, and listen deeply to their own personal wisdom, and to see that begin to flourish and blossom in their own lives in their own unique way, and find their way forward with this work. I've been able to weave this process into my own work with medicine and with women's coaching now. And I'm just seeing so many wonderful, amazing results, and someone's capacity to bring much more compassion and cultivate greater wisdom and insight in living their lives forward. So it's just been an incredible journey. And if you have any doubt whatsoever, overcome it, because this is a wonderful, wonderful path to take, your personal as well as being available to others in your life, and healing relationships. So
Beautiful. Oh, thank you, Rose. Very good. And Paula, would you be next?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Rose. I feel like I would have done this just for me, and I didn't realize my certification program, and I didn't realize the boon it would be towards deepening what I already do in spiritual direction, and the living forward energy that's come through me to what I offer to the world. And today, what it feels like is if I was living where Mary Keeney's living, I would walk all day with you out on the bluffs, or if you want to come into my backyard, into the woods. I just feel like the way I companion people is we walk down a road together in whatever's happening, and I help you overhear yourself, whether that's loud and uncomfortable or whether that's alive. And I also really have a penchant for the skill of focusing. I'm growing and growing and growing in that. Having been a supervisor in spiritual direction, but also now walking with people who are trying to integrate it. I love helping you get better at the ways you can integrate it into how you companion people. And so there's a kind of the heart and the art of focusing. I like both of those and coming alongside people in this way.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Paula. Pat, would you be next?
Sure. Philosophy. Yeah, I'm sort of holding that. I think my philosophy is so grounded in my training as an anthropologist, in the sensitivity to cultural differences and how perceptions, how the world is perceived so differently across different cultures, and how well focusing adapts into that. And I love sharing that process. I think the other thing is that I see such a practical side to focusing outside of therapy and other areas like that into, I teach these international courses on psychological first aid to humanitarian aid workers and people in crisis, or psychosocial support classes, and the foundation is always focusing, even when we, so that they're learning focusing sometimes before they even have a clue that they're learning focusing. Then they go, oh my gosh, this is a process. Let's do it. Which is always a lot of fun. So yeah, I think it really is about that cultural sensitivity, and how do I help? How do I don't want to say mentor or facilitate. How do I be with someone as they're discovering their own interpretation, body felt sense of what's going on in their world?
Thank you, Pat. Marcella.
Yeah, I love questions because they make me think. And I'm usually pretty fluent in responding. I say responding rather than answering because questions are often a great context for determining more about what is in the mind of the questioner. And it's not just something where, a nicely packaged response is supposed to be the be all and end all of the process, quite the opposite. But this question always stymies me because it's a little bit, for me, it's a little bit like asking a fish to describe water. I just show up, you know. I was looking for words for this. I think what Rose, what you said really resonated and helped me with this. But I flashed on a moment when my grandson was 2 years old, and he is being raised inside an artist retreat center. So the most astonishingly motley variety of strangers is crossing his path. And he's completely used to it. And I was in his living room one time when he came home from, I don't know what, a play date or something at 2, and found about, I'm going to say 18 large-bodied strangers in his living room. And I watched the sort of LED screen on his forehead. I watched him sort of consider being overwhelmed and decide against it. And and having decided against it, he came over to me and said the quintessential line for people in, who in group leadership contexts. He comes over and he puts his little hands on his little hips and goes, "So, how can I help?" And
Oh my
I thought,
gosh.
and I thought, really, that is the best answer I can give, because I co-mentor the way. Part of why I can't answer this question is that I'm no different from how I am in the rest of the day, which is just, I just show up and go, "So, use me, how can I help?" And that means that what's actually going to happen is completely specific to the person on the other side of the table, not idiosyncratic to me.
Yeah.
And that's why I mean, maybe that is my philosophy. It's probably as close as I can get.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, Marcella. Who wants to be next? You, Mary?
Yes, I'll be next. I'm just nodding at everything that everybody is saying. There's so much I would like to say. I'm trying to, what's most important? Hmm. I let's see. I was born with actually two major drives. One was this voracious wanting to learn everything. And the other was wanting to make a difference, which keeps showing up in my focusing work myself, called saving the world sometimes, manifested like that. And so I was fortunate to be living in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It was the incredible opening in the universe. And I did everything mind, body, spirit, metaphysical, you name it. I just went for it all. And it was all good. It was all really good. And about 10 years ago, I was having this. So this is my personal experience with my certification and focusing. I was having this what I call the spiritual crisis, because I was really, really deeply concerned about what helping was. And the other thing was, I was finding myself getting very annoyed if somebody gave me advice. And I was even more agitated if I watched other people giving other people advice. And I didn't know exactly what was happening, but I just knew it was important. And then coincidentally, a friend of mine came from England to visit, and we were having brunch. And she said, "Oh, I want to tell you about this class I just took on focusing." And about 3 sentences in, I went, "That's the right, but that's it. That's it. That's right." I didn't hesitate, signed up. I was in my first class within 2 months. And I actually believe this was the first class. Something happened. A door opened. Those questions got answered in that first class. And I just felt like I landed home. And honestly, I think I just blissed out my whole first year in in the certification program completely. So I was so happy. And so because I took so many, I have taken like 4 or 5 long certification courses, and they were all wonderful. And I just want to comment that I think I qualify to talk to your course, yours and Barbara's course, and the quality, the extraordinary quality of the course. And I think those of you who are listening, and I wish I could see you, um, are getting an idea of how wonderful this course, how well thought out it is. And one of the things I really appreciate about it in my work is that I can bring everything else that I've learned. And you have given me a structure and a language that is brilliant. And it doesn't matter what happens, I always have that as the foundation of my work. And so there's a safety in that is just beautiful. And I so appreciate that. And then the one thing I wanted to say about mentors, I was really lucky. I was so lucky who I chose as my mentor. And so I wanted just to speak to that a little bit. So what she did for me was she brought all the qualities of presence to each time I was with her. So there was that feeling of such safety and just being taken care of, and completely non-judgmental, empathic, compassionate, all of those qualities. And then she also brought this just very generously. She was a resource, so she very generously shared with me all her knowledge of focusing, and then all the other life experience that she had. And she just encouraged me with every step. So I just felt comfortable and safe. She gave me very helpful and kind feedback. And so this is what I aspire to. And she set a very high bar, by the way. But that's my aspiration as a mentor for you, anyone who chooses. And so anybody who's resonates with anything I've said, I'd be delighted to talk to you. Just contact me, and whoever you choose, I'm very excited for you.
And I'll just say before we hear from a few more people that once you're in the certification program, you choose your co-mentor, you get to chat with them, right? So let me try out conversations with these different people. That's a free thing that people will do, is chat with you. And it needs to be a mutual decision, not just that you're choosing, but the other person agrees. Like, yeah, we resonate. I'd love to work with you. I think that usually is what happens, but it isn't just one way. It's a mutual choice. I'm going to finish with Emily. So Kim, would you be next?
I'd be happy to. So my philosophy of mentoring is rooted in a deep respect for the individual's learning process, and compassion. Inviting people into paying attention to their body is a really, really vulnerable thing. And being a guide can feel really vulnerable, inviting people into that place. So whatever we reflect on together will be, I know what that vulnerable place feels like myself. And I will be attuning to you as you attune to the people that you're guiding. And it's this lovely, I don't even have a, if we had time to pause, there maybe would be a felt sense of it, but it's this pattern of attuning to one another, being present to one another with what really is, and exploring those growth edges that you're discovering, the places you feel stuck or frustrated or ashamed. We're going to welcome those because they're going to be your teacher. They're still my teacher. Similar to this program is the number of reflections you get to write on sessions. And I promise that as a mentor, I will read them from a place of presence myself and deep respect for your process. I'll respond timely. My hope is that you will grow in confidence in bringing your real self, yourself in presence into your relationships with others. And whether that's everyday life or in a guided focusing session. So I guess want to say that the treasure is in you of where your learning is at, and it's going to guide you, and I'm going to be with you as you listen for that.
Thank you,
You
Kim.
can't go wrong. Yep.
Well, we'll pause on hearing from the commenters because two people have joined us for a very brief period of time. Both Melissa and Ross have snatched some moments. I think Melissa's actually in the middle of teaching a class. She's on a break right now. Melissa, tell us what you want to tell about what it's been like to take the certification program and what it's enabled you to be able to do.
Well, it's probably one of the best decisions I've made, and I'm not joking. I had a choice, either go back to school and become a therapist or do this, and I'm so glad I chose this because I would meet therapists that are already therapists and they want this. So I almost didn't do it. I'm so glad I did. It wasn't what I expected, but it was in a weird way. I was hoping that, or I had a part that wanted to just be told what to do and how to do it. But what I discovered is that I'm more of myself and I am doing it my way. And that's what we're supported to do, is to find who we are in focusing. And that surprised me. I was just like, wait, am I doing? And then it was just like, no, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. And here I am doing the work. And that's just beautiful. So I highly recommend it. I'm so happy I did it. And I'm now teaching my third class. I was only supposed to do one. And it's going great.
You're
Yeah.
going on. You're teaching
I'm going
more.
on. It's
Yeah.
really great. And people are responding. And it's just lovely to be sharing something that really works and helps people. So I'm really grateful. In my first class, I had 10 people. It was a high. These are smaller groups. It's still amazing. It's just lovely. So I'm really happy that I did it. And I feel like I have a lot of support in my life right now, which I didn't have before that. The
Wow.
mentors, UN, it's just like never ending support. So it just feels like I'm not alone in the world doing this work. And I'm connected to this amazing network of people doing amazing things. And we're supported to do it our way. Because there is no right way to be. It's just the inner sense of rightness of you and how you
Terrific.
show up. Thank you, Pat. Yeah.
Terrific.
That's
Yay.
beautiful. So thank you.
So good. So good. Wow. Couldn't ask for better than that, Melissa.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and go back to your class if you need to. Let's hear
I
from
have
Ross.
a few more minutes. I'll stay
Okay,
for
well,
Ross.
let's stay. Yeah, great. Ross and Melissa in the same cohort that finished this year. Hi, Ross. What would you like to say?
Hi, Ed, and Melissa, and hi, everyone. Um, yeah, so we're just at the end of the training. I just finished my last practice client report yesterday. So I found it incredibly transformative on a lot of different levels. I really wanted to step into therapeutic work, and focusing was the modality that had changed me and helped me the most. So that's where I wanted to start. And I've loved it the whole way through. I've been able to keep changing it's transformed me as a person and my emotional healing, and that's flowed directly into how I can support other people in the journey. So the different layers for me have been so skillfully woven. The classes have great content. The reports to the mentors and the feedback from the mentors is really invaluable for like fine-tuning what we can offer. And then the group that you find in the class is really affirming and supportive too. So I've just loved how all the different layers kind of weave together to both have built my confidence and changed me more to be the therapeutic presence that I want to be for people. And I'm studying this alongside a counseling degree, and I've just found the embodied relational experiential approach of focusing has just enhanced all of my capacity to show up in that other kind of modality as well. Yeah, so I'm really glad I took it. It's involved, I'm in New Zealand, so I've had to get up at 5 a.m. for a few of the assisting things, but it's been worth all the early mornings and late nights. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ross. Thank you very much. Thank you so much to both of you for coming and sharing. And I know you need to get back to something, but that's just been lovely for you to take the time to come on and let us know.
Thanks for all the gifts you've given me too. Yeah. That's about it.
Thank you so much. All right. Very good. Very good. What a treat. All right, we're still hearing from co-mentors, and and 7 people have been hanging in there as our group of listeners. So be thinking of any questions you want to ask. Emily, go right ahead.
My philosophy of co-mentoring, I would say, is one of space and trust. I just really value having a lot of space in my own life, and so others have said it in different ways, and I just want to say too that I think it's probably pretty obvious to those of you listening by now that you can't go wrong here. There's so many wonderful mentors here. So it's really what you're drawn to. I always think of in Star Trek, where they use their tractor beam. and it's sort of like a mutual, it seems like for me, the experience I've had, I take 2 mentees a year, and people, we can try and give our conscious reasons why it feels right, but it's a very felt sense kind of thing where you just feel, yeah, this feels right. And like there's a mutual tractor beam thing going on. So sometimes people do find me or are attracted to me initially because of the my subspecialty of highly sensitive people, of which I'm one, and many focusers are. Just offering a kind of an extra take on focusing is one of a number of ways that you can self-regulate. And that whole, there's a perspective and a body of knowledge with that can be very, very complementary with focusing. But that's some mentees, not all. Other than that, I would just say that I'm definitely a bit of a a focusing nerd and enjoy getting into it with Anne in the comments. We really do have fun. I'm not the only one here who's that way, I'm sure. But as Ross was actually a mentee. Both those folks are mentees, happen to be mentees of mine. And Ross would send really detailed reports. And so we would spend quite a bit of time, commenting in some detail, which is just, I think that is one of the very strongest things about this program. Just a final shout out to add to ones others have expressed, that this, having been in another program too, a different one, this one sent me out into the world in a whole different way as far as confidence. When you've done 50 practice sessions and gotten comments on over half of them, like really close comments, and been observed, you feel there's a level of confidence that you feel putting yourself out there and offering the work to people. So I really, really enjoy being part of that process and seeing your confidence grow over time. It's really cool. Yeah.
It is really cool. Makes me happy. People who are here are 7 people: Aviva, Brian, Elizabeth, Jennifer, Joey, and Michael. You can raise your hand and talk to us and be on the screen if you want to. And I'm going to just answer some of the questions people often have. And one of them, but go ahead, and there's a raise hand thing, or you can write in the chat and say what your questions are. Very common question is, how much time does this take? What's the time commitment involved? And I've spent some time trying to really get down to what I think it is. So look at it this way. During the academic year, right? September, October through May or June, that time period, 2 hours in the class or with your triad, another hour that will either be trading with another person in the group or doing a practice client session on the average of once a week, maybe an average of 1 hour doing the readings. Sometimes it'll be more, sometimes it'll be less. And then there's, so let's say 4 hours you can count on. Then we invite you to assist with our classes. It's not a requirement. The requirement is to assist somebody in teaching focusing classes. And there are other people other than us teaching focusing in the world. And sometimes you can seek them out and assist them. But most people assist us. And if you do, that's another 4 hours per week for the 27 weeks over the whole 2 years that you'll be assisting with classes. Because it's 2 hours in the class, another hour afterwards debriefing, and another hour possibly during the week trading with one of the participants in the class. So it could be 4 hours a week, it could be 8 hours a week, let's say 4 to 8 hours a week, depending. It is, in general, when people are asked about, was it what you expected? People say it's a little bit more intensive than what I was thinking it would be. And oh, Brian, I see your question. A new cohort starts every year so that there's always 2 overlapping. And each year they start at a different time. So we're doing this open house at the starting time of the one that starts in October, which is the later in the day in California, in the evening in the East Coast. It was the one that Ross in New Zealand was able to take, even though it was early in the morning for him. Then the alternate year, we do it early, like in the morning in California. That's afternoon in the East Coast, and that enables Europeans to take it. Let's see. Michael's got a hand up. Michael, can I let you talk? I'm going to let you talk.
A couple questions. One, are there any male teachers? Just curious.
I was hoping somebody would ask that question, because I always feel a little bit embarrassed when I look over our very women-oriented group. And we have a teacher who's a man, who's the excellent Peter Gill.
Oh, Peter, yeah.
Unfortunately, because he lives in England,
mm-hmm.
he's only able to teach every other cohort.
Mm-hmm.
So the group that will start this fall does not at the moment have any male teachers.
Okay.
Yep.
And Jacek would be the same, wouldn't he? Yeah, he's your.
Well, yeah, and we have male co-mentors.
Hmm.
So in addition to Peter, we have Jacek Kaleta and Arno Katz. They are all European, but they are available to co-mentor. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Another question is, you mentioned you have a class on Jen philosophy, and I'm just wondering how important that is. I noticed that there's an International Focusing Institute offers what looks like a really in-depth course on a process model by Rob Parker. And is that, I mean, I'm just trying to get a sense of how much Jen philosophy is important in I know it's not important in doing focusing because I can focus without that, but would it enhance or how does it enhance?
Well, how does it enhance? I believe, and I welcome my fellow teachers here to answer that as well. Why and how? Why does focusing work? How does focusing work? It works basically because our bodies are actually interactive process. Our bodies are not objects. It's not the modern science view of the body. That doesn't work, right? You can't ask the object body for wisdom about your life. Your object body will just tell you you ate too much for lunch and you need to take a nap. But it's the living body, the body as process, the body that knows its next steps of living. That's the body Genlin teaches us about. And it is a radical view. And so there's much more to Genlin's philosophy than we can teach, even in the certification program. But we believe that focusing teachers ought to have a bit of it, at least. So you can answer the question that will come from your students, which is, why should I be listening to my body? How come my body is so wise? And that's just one example.
Okay.
Marcella will say something about this.
So by way of putting my oar in here, I want to echo what Emily said about being a focusing nerd, about really wanting to get behind and below it and through it and into it to understand. One of the best things I've ever done in my life was I bullied my sister into becoming an occasional client of Anne's. And so whenever she's in a terrible state, I just say, when was the last appointment you had? And she goes, right. And then she has an appointment and then she's fine again. And she doesn't want to talk about it. She doesn't want to understand it. She doesn't want me to explain it. And she doesn't want to sit around and talk about it the way I'd love to for hours with other people who get it. She's a very practical entrepreneur type, and she wants to apply the tools where they work and get on with things. So she would be the example of the anti-nerd. So we somewhere on the spectrum from my sister to me, which is there's room for real curiosity about Jenlin's thinking, to find space. And of course, if you're going to be a teacher, it is really incredibly handy to have that available. Because you are going to have students who will have those questions. But it's important to remember that that philosophers describe how they think life works. Life works without philosophers. And it's also important to remember that Genlin was trying to put words to something that happens naturally. So focusing happens without Genlin. But if you really want to get your hands into it, his work is a fun entry point and really delicious.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that Gendlin, whether, however deeply you end up diving into his philosophy, he's such an extraordinary, or was such an extraordinary presence himself. I mean, he's kind of our father here. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for him. And his presence, if you haven't seen many of his videos or heard his recordings, just the way he was embodied the focusing spirit so completely that I feel that that's a really important piece to. I feel that was a highlight of my life, actually, was by some sheer stroke of luck. I got to be companioned by him in one of your classes, Anne. I don't know how that came about, but
Mhm.
it was incredible just feeling that completely, he was completely present. So there's the philosophy, which can be kind of, you have to really stay with it, but just as it all came from this deeply present place.
Yeah. And what's really the essence of interrelationship focusing is no agenda. The absolute acceptance of what's here with the trust that from what's here, the next steps emerge. And Gendlin lived that in his relationships with people and with himself, so on. Aviva asks some more different ways people are using the certification. Do we have some examples of that? I mean, Marcella, you're combining it with voice coaching. Can we say that?
Yeah, in any of several different meanings of the word voice. It could be either your actual singing and speaking voice, finding yourself in the context of public expression, or your voice in the world as expressed through your decisions and your actions. And there's what I love about the word voice in English is that it has a lot of meanings, and focusing turns out to be braided into all of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Pat has something about that, and so does Jill. Go ahead, Pat.
One of my students, a man in Tunisia, was teaching English as second language and found that the focusing, after he was trained in focusing and inserting that into his training, the students learned English much more quickly, more easily, with more confidence. So into teaching, into classrooms. The WHO asked me to be teaching, focusing in one of the jobs I had with them. So it can get quite extensive. Yeah. Anywhere. Anyway.
Yes. A student of mine has just completed a PhD dissertation on bringing focusing skills into math classrooms in grade school, and the improvement in students, everything, everything you can measure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Jill, you had something on this topic, and then Kim.
Yeah, I've been doing some art teaching recently.
Some art teaching.
Yeah, working with people who. So it's a breakthrough to know that the only key to what's on their piece of paper is how they feel about it. And that if you make one mark on a piece of paper, just one mark, the next one, you know where the next one needs to be. So it's feeling safe working, making marks and drawing and painting and being delighted by what happens next. I've done quite a bit lately, and it's just been people who are not used to painting or drawing are just very, very happy, and it's all about their response to what needs to come next.
Radical acceptance.
Mark making. It's been wonderful.
I love it. That's so nice. Yeah, Kim, go ahead.
So I have been weaving focusing into spirituality retreats, teaching contemplative prayer, bringing focusing into that with some age-old contemplative prayer practices. And I'm sure Paula does this as well. And I also bring focusing into supervision of spiritual directors. So there's a fresh way of an inner knowing that becomes their teacher of where they feel stuck in offering spiritual direction. And it's not just the head, it's just super rich. It's been rich for me to be in supervision that way. So those are just a couple of the non-therapeutic ways that I bring focusing in.
Well, there's one more question I want to answer that no one's actually asked, but I want to answer it anyway. And that is, what would be the next steps if you're interested in pursuing this program this year? Your next step would be to schedule a chat with me. There's a link on the webpage for certification, and you'll get that link when we send you this recording. Let's have a chat. And at the end of that chat, we'll come to an agreement about the rightness of you taking the program. I will then send you our formal application form. You fill that out, send it in. You're not yet committed. Your options are still open. Sometimes people go several steps into the application process without knowing yet whether they actually want to do the program. And I want to be very clear at each stage, where are you committed and where do you still have your options open to make up your mind? You fill out the application, your options are open. You send in the application, your options are open. I send you back an acceptance of your application. Your options are still open. When are you committed? When you pay us. And at that point, you're in the program, and that's when you get to start interviewing co-mentors. You get access to the course materials, and you can really engage with it. So it's a process that has a series of steps. Even though we start in October, we want to get everybody in and paid by the end of August. And so why not go, if you are interested, if you feel like this might be a next step for you, why not have that chat with me, and I can help you think about it and help you decide. Jill, something?
I was just going to say something, that what it has done for me, or what it did for me, because I was somebody who hummed and hawed until the ultimo momento. And what I didn't want to do was to do another thing. I mean, I've done a lot of work in spirituality, but what I found this did, it brought it all together. I think Mary Keeney spoke about it being a structure, but to me, the meditation practice I have leaves nothing out, and that's fundamental to me. And what focusing has done, and Jenlyn's philosophy, which I have done some of the course with, of the philosophy course. But what it does, it expands to include and enhances and enriches and makes sense of everything you've done this far in life, whatever that is, you know, because it doesn't leave anything out. It's a whole way of understanding, working with, being with, getting to know better. And one of the things that really stands out is the safety of the process is huge. Mm-hmm. And I never realized that until I actually experienced that working with other focusers, that the safety one experiences is something you, in a level that you didn't know you even, for me, I didn't even know how much I needed it. And that was, you know.
Beautiful.
So we want you to be safe and whole.
Safe, respectful, equal. We bring curiosity, and we're cheerleaders for each person's growth. Well, I think that's all we need to say. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, my colleagues. Thank you, interested people. Keep in touch.